What's up, everyone? I'm Andrew Reiner. Welcome to another episode of Game Informer's Test Chamber. Today we're taking a look at Final Fantasy Type-0 HD. Matt Miller played it through for review. He is sitting here with us. Hello, sir.
How's it going?
Good. This was a long game. You were playing this for weeks on end.
Yeah, this was a lengthy game. A lot of stuff to check out. I think a pretty standard playthrough is going to be around 35 hours, something like that.
And we're playing off one of your earlier saves. Actually, you're not playing it. That is intern Justin Mikos. Hello, sir.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. You've played an hour just like I have.
Yeah.
We both started playing last night a little bit, and
now we're throwing you in the deep end.
We're throwing you in the
Yeah.
deep end. But I got to point out, this is the same thing I was doing at the beginning of the game, throwing playing cards like Gambit at max.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that I think you're going to be doing a lot of in this game, and it's one of the reasons why it wasn't maybe my favorite role-playing game I've ever encountered. There is a little bit of a strategy, I think, to the game of kind of understanding what your different characters can do and knowing when you need to dodge and how to use each of their abilities well. Justin, you're doing a pretty good job in what is ultimately a pretty hard fight. These two colossi, see I use plural there, colossi.
Yeah, very nice.
Are dangerous missile-firing enemies, and they've got a lot of hit points. This is pretty late in the game here. This is a spot we chose kind of to showcase some of the stuff that's going on a little bit later in the game. You have more character options at this point. You're doing a little bit more damage. You also have, you can see Ace here, one of our 14 characters of Class 0, is wearing an alternate outfit. Which will be exciting for some Final Fantasy fans out there.
How do you get that?
All of the outfits that I ever got came through mission rewards.
Okay, so it wasn't DLC or something.
No, it was like a thing where if I was,
got one.
Yeah, you almost got him. Way to go! If you're doing really well on a mission, you get different rewards, right? There's a grade at the end, and depending which characters you used, you can get rewards for that particular character. And so at some point, I'd used Ace a good bit on a mission, and I got this is called his summer wear outfit.
Okay.
It
looks like the same as his other one, just white.
It is, ultimately.
Now, Miller, I was lurking over your shoulder a lot, creeping like I do in the office, watching you play this over the weeks, and it started out...
It was weird when you showed up at my house and were just, like, looking through the window.
It still happens.
I want to watch Final Fantasy, and I'll do anything to do that. But it started out, I talked to you, and you said, yeah, the game's pretty cool. And then the next day, you're like, yeah, it's cool. And then the next day, it was like, and then it just kind of went downhill from there.
Yeah.
Talk to me about just kind of the path through this game.
Yeah, it starts out with a really great kind of opening sequence that feels very different for Final Fantasy because it's all focused on this kind of wartime dynamic.
I got to point out in that intro, though, there's a character that dies for like 10 minutes.
And
that's
ridiculous.
how I picture like Mr. Bean dying in a Mr. Bean movie. Like it just goes on, and you're like, should I leave the theater, or is he really... Okay, he's gone.
Yeah, he's finally gone.
But anyway, continue.
Well, they play around with that idea of that character's death because in some ways it's this big mystery that occurs later. One of the things that makes the game story unusual is the idea that you are you're living in a world where once someone dies in battle, you can't remember them anymore. They're just gone.
But they're all playing card names, right? Like, we're Ace, there's Queen.
Yeah, well, they'll be like records of their existence.
9 existed before 10.
Exactly. So anyway, that character who dies, you like, it's kind of a mystery of who they were and what their connection was to each of the characters.
And we should point out also, we kind of skipped a big point of this game, is this is a port of a PlayStation portable game.
Correct.
Yes.
That did never come out here.
And this port is done. It's, Square Enix worked on it, but also a company called Hexadrive, I believe, ported it over here to Xbox One and PS4. We're playing it on PS4 today.
Right. And we were talking a little bit about, what changed as I played, because I liked the opening. I liked the wartime thing, the idea of of riding these chocobos into battle, who are your like loyal, noble steeds, and you have eidolons that are, basically weapons of mass destruction.
It's like a big horse rider, right? Like, I got to play as that in the opening hour. There's like a big guy, demon guy, and a horse. Is that one of those things?
Yeah. Basically summons, right? You have the idea that there's like an Ultima bomb instead of like the spell. The Ultima bomb is almost like dropping a nuclear bomb on a city. It's cool stuff like that, playing around with Final Fantasy conventions. And I think there's more stuff to kill.
But you don't always have to play as the same guy. You can hit the directional buttons.
Yeah, well, actually,
switch,
he
right?
can't right now.
Yeah,
and this is a feature that is another thing that as I continue to play, I didn't love about the game, which is the idea that in any given fight, you can...
Oh, no.
Oh, now we're going to see another character. So hit up on the D-pad. Now you can choose somebody else.
Okay, let's go with... I'll try 7 out. I haven't played her, I don't think.
So this guy's going to be really hard. Way to go.
That's a nice crit. Justin, what do you think of it so far?
So I'm not entirely thrilled yet. So that's worrying. This game got a mixed reception. Oh man. It got a mixed reception in Japan,
get to see a player wipe
and it
here,
got yeah, this is really bad. Yeah, I've only played for an hour. I mainly played as Ace, so losing him is a bad thing at this stage. But yeah, it got a mixed reception in Japan. It got a mixed reception here, so I'm hoping I'm gonna like it. But yeah, oh man, this guy is hard.
Worked, yeah.
Try pulling back for a little bit, and somebody else will heal you.
Okay.
So
that's not pulling back.
Wow, that was 3 hits.
To finish explaining what's going on here, we've got this weird system, this SP system, right? Where you have characters who you can choose before a big fight to have these guys come in, and they're named after after people in the development team, right? You see like Haruna Kato back there. That is like a person from the development team.
Oh no!
Yeah, well, there you go. Now we see what happens when you die in this game. It's all good. We can hop into another save real quick.
Yeah, let's do that.
Check something out. So let's return to title, and we'll be right back. So we've hopped away from the really hard battle that we threw Justin into the middle of, which was good, actually. I wanted to be able to kind of showcase that the battles do get really hard later on. And
we don't like our interns winning stuff.
This is a little bit earlier in the game when we're running around out in the main field. And, longtime Final Fantasy people, I think, will like the opportunity to have this kind of experience where you're just kind of like running around. Careful, run away from him.
Wait.
Oh, got him, Malboro.
There won't be any battles while you're on your chocobo here.
Oh, well, that's good.
So
do we want him to get in a battle?
Yeah, let's
here?
get in a battle. Why don't you hop off?
Okay.
Because the main game takes place, it's very structured and linear in the opening moments. And then you come here, how does battle unfold? Is it traditional Final Fantasy, or is it in kind of an environment again?
Well, so it's going to hop us in. When we're out in the main field like this, instead of it just being immediate flow into a fight, you're going to actually have a situation like this. Yeah, this is Cater, I believe is her name.
They went a little strong on the fog.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's really hard to see.
And you hop into these kind of real-time battles, and you're running around. And here you're going to see you have all 3 of your characters to switch between. We're not using the SP system right now, which we saw before, which is where just these random dudes that are named after the development team join in. And they kind of help out, but you don't get XP for your main characters when that's happening. Here, we've got our main guys, and if you press, I think it's right on the D-pad, you can switch over, and now you're playing as Machina.
Are they like in Pokeballs? You get shot out?
I don't know what's going on with these guys.
But talk about combat a little. What's going on here? Obviously, you see the buttons on the side. He's tapping those to do different attacks. But what are you doing? You got your magic meter, all that stuff.
Yeah, the biggest challenge is that each character has totally different attacks. And so as you're switching around, one guy is sort of a melee fighter and one person's a ranged fighter. And it's kind of hard to know, it takes a little while to learn the best strategies for everybody. That said, the basics of it come down to doing a lot of dodging around and a lot of pressing square.
Okay. Yeah, talk to me about the end of the game in that regard.
Yeah, you may be referring to the boss.
Yeah, the last boss. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, okay.
We usually don't, but this is relevant here.
I'm not going to spoil any story stuff about the last boss, but the final boss is a character who was almost like a prototypical example of that old-fashioned trope of having a boss that you fight and you're in a really weakened state, and then you get brought down, and then something happens and you're basically invincible, and you can You just have to win. That's all that happens.
But it takes a while to win, right?
It took me like half an hour to get through that last boss fight. It goes through every single character in your party. You have to do a certain amount of damage with each character. And even kind of figuring out what's going on initially takes a while. And, once you know what you're doing, it starts to move faster, and you understand that you don't have to be dodging and that you're automatically healing from everything. But just from an angle of having a last boss fight that just isn't... There's nothing interesting about it, right? It's visually quite interesting. It's a really cool-looking last boss. But the actual fight, you can't lose. And so you kind of just sit there and hold down the attack button with each character until you do a certain amount of damage, and then that character disappears, and another character shows up.
Yeah, poor Justin here. In my first hour of the game, I didn't run into too many enemies that took more than, 20 seconds to take down.
Hit up on the D-pad. You can pull in one of our other guys.
Okay. Ace is high level. We're going to go with him.
Okay, you got to switch to Ace, though.
Yeah.
He's invincible.
Oh.
Why is that?
That could be good.
Oh, not anymore.
Not anymore.
Oh, that was good. You did a lot of damage there.
Oh, yeah, he's down.
Can you explain the kill strike?
Yeah. So sometimes you see this little yellow target show up, and that means you're going to do a lot of damage if you happen to hit at that moment. And sometimes there's a red target, and that means that if you hit during that moment, you will instantly kill the target. So it's a handy tool if you can time your strikes well. But I think it's honestly, it's kind of hard to time it. Sometimes you're just you're in between attacks during that brief moment that the red target comes up, and so it gets pretty tricky. You can also see that in order to succeed, Justin's having to do a lot of just sort of wild running around.
Yeah, this is really intense.
Which, I don't know, I think for some players is going to be fun, but for me, I started to get a little sick of where, I often didn't get the sense that I could, I understood when an enemy was telegraphing their attack, hit, retreat.
Okay, yeah.
And so you end up just kind of constantly dodging around, and every once in a while getting in a few hits, and then dodging again for a long time. And in the beginning, that's oh, whatever, that's fine. But then it starts to get a little bit boring.
Yeah, get in that town. Okay. We got to get rid of this fog. So, Miller, when I turned on the game and did the tutorial at the beginning, the first line that was spit out at me was, "The life armlet grants you re-raise status." And I was like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
I felt like I was reading a random sentence from a Dune book I'd never read before. And I was just like, holy crap, this is going to be pretty deep. And there's a lot of stuff going on here. We should, as soon as he finishes his conversation, kind of go into the character customization stuff.
Should I accept the request?
Sure.
All right.
The tasks are these things you can take on one at a time. To show what we're talking about, we should go to the save point.
Okay.
The tasks are another thing that frustrate me because you can only take one at a time.
Oh boy.
And that can be kind of annoying because you have to go out, do the mission, come back, get another task, go out, do that mission, come back.
Okay. So
yeah, where should I?
So as far as take a look at promotion real quick.
Okay. Abilities.
So Final Fantasy fans, no doubt, love playing around with their characters and customizing them, and there's lots of options to do that. In fact, it's kind of overwhelming initially how many options there are to do that. You can hop into any of these guys, maybe find somebody who's got, with this save I had recently leveled up, but here, this Sync has 9 AP.
Okay.
So let's go hop into her stuff. So you can kind of see here, these are all of the different abilities that I have upgraded up to this point. Now, I can only set a few of them, but these are the ones that I have right now.
You can only put it in the command spot there where
exactly.
that's that similar icon? Okay.
Exactly. So I can, and you can mix and match your abilities and your spells. So right now there's Mace Cyclone and Fire MIS. So if you go select, let's say Whirling Mace Crit Plus, you go down to that. You select that, learn the ability.
Boom.
And then back out.
Okay.
Back out. Back out.
Wow, that's a lot.
Go to Armament.
Okay.
Now you can go down to Sync.
Ah.
Yeah, this is kind of confusing.
Go down to Command.
You go down to its select abilities, and now you can put on
Whirling Mace.
And so you can constantly change these out and find what options you like for your character and what kind of attacks you would like to play around with. Each one of them has a sort of like standard weapon. Sync is our big mace wielder. There's a guy who's got a katana. There's a person who uses a bow.
I noticed in the battle, even when Justin was going, he was getting healed often. Is the AI pretty good?
Yeah, I think the AI is pretty good, actually. It does a good job of supporting you. It does a little bit of damage when it's necessary.
Should we?
Let's look at the Alto Crystarium.
What is this?
I have not seen
this. This is another cool feature. Another thing I actually do like about the game is the ability to customize your spells. So let's go in. Let's say maybe fire, ice, lightning. It doesn't matter.
Let's go lightning.
Sure. And then select one of those spells.
All right. Thunder Rocket.
And you can see here that we can adjust its power, how much its MP cost is, and its cast time if we have enough Phantoma. The Phantoma... The Phantoma is the stuff that you pull out of the bodies of the bad guys.
After the bodies explode.
Right. So it's kind of like a beating a monster reward. And they have different colors, and they are how you improve your spells. So there's, lots of different options of spells here. This is at a point in the game that there's some spells a lot of spells I don't have yet. Right. To be fair, there's a lot of ways that you can kind of play around here and customize the way that you want your characters to be. So I want to show you one last thing before we close out, which is that another kind of heart of the experience is going and playing around at the Academia, which is like your home base. So let's go check that out. So here we are. We are back at our home base. This is an academy where your 14 main characters are going to class every day.
What's with the shoulder pads? Is this a Rob Liefeld character?
It's like their uniform, yeah. That guy's pretty cute. Check him out.
Yeah, it's a Tonberry.
Yeah. Here's some more of these tasks. We can turn these down.
Yeah, no tasks today.
So basically what's going on here is you can see time to mission. Everything that you do while you're back at the school takes up a certain amount of time. Like it might take 2 hours to have a conversation or 6 hours to go out into the field.
Jeez.
Conversations are deep.
They really are. And each of those things helps you kind of improve a little bit as you go through. This is going to be a little sort of story event, so nothing too crazy, but will give us a taste of the, shall we say, unique dialogue that this game showcases.
There's some Square Enix air for you.
He was our commanding
I'll be quiet
officer,
for a second so you can hear this stuff.
But I'm not sad, just empty.
Love the
I looked
music.
him up.
Yeah, crank it, Hanson.
According to the records, he was kind of a jerk. When they accused us of assassinating the Queen, he didn't even do anything to try and help us.
Yeah, when we escaped Milites, we were completely on our own.
I don't know what he was like as a commander, but I think Mother really is the only one we can trust. Well, let's go.
Hey!
Nine, what's wrong?
I just feel like I'm forgetting something really important.
Like, I got to button my jacket.
I really shouldn't be acting like this.
This is a great cutscene to just wander in on.
Well, I don't know.
There's no point worrying about it. Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, so I think we've had enough of this that I can speak to one of my fundamental problems. Okay, that you think that conversation would make more sense if you understood what was going on, but it doesn't. Like, one of my big problems here is that I think Final Fantasy gets a pass in some regards for being Final Fantasy and having these dialogue sequences that are just kind of ludicrous and melodramatic and they just inane, right? They don't make sense. They're kind of sophomoric in their actual dialogue between these characters who it doesn't even seem like they're really talking about something. I just don't entirely.
Is it random?
No, they're not random.
It just seems like the dialogue wasn't matching up at all. I don't know what they were doing.
I think that one of the, this is a role-playing game, and in 2015, for a role-playing game to come out, and to have the story be as indecipherable as Final Fantasy Type-0 story is, I think is a problem, is a big problem. I think there's a lot of fun, like, world development ideas that are going on in this game.
Oh, I found an arena.
Yeah, you can go fight stuff here. But there's just, the actual story itself doesn't make a lot of sense. There's some stuff that they particularly leave out of your first playthrough.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
For a second playthrough.
There's a... Like,
yeah, there's
could
not...
you actually fit anyone in those stands?
These don't look like comfortable places to sit, do they? So anyway, I've got some issues with the story.
Gotcha.
But I think there is the structure of running around in the school, which has some potential to be kind of fun, right? You can go to interesting places. Why don't you go left and go back into the main school?
Okay.
And I'll show you some of the other locations you can visit at the school.
There's a Moogle.
So is it like Harry Potter or Final Fantasy, or is it does it not get to that level?
I got a void.
Relationships and stuff like that.
Say again?
Harry Potter, like Final Fantasy.
I don't think it reaches that point. Go to that center circle real quick, Justin. That'll let you teleport to all sorts of fun places.
Okay.
You can
Let's
scroll us
that's
through
nice.
these as Reiner and I talk about the characters a little bit more. You've got 14 main characters in this game, and they are all there from the very beginning. And I'm going to be honest with you. I played through the entire game and into a second playthrough, and I never really got a sense that each one of them had a really distinct personality. Now, sure, they had weird speech mannerisms and things that they would do.
Right.
But I never felt connected to any of them. There wasn't ever any central relationships or experiences that made me care a lot about them.
And that's what's great about what I've liked about the core Final Fantasy experiences, right? Like getting attached to Tidus and Yuna,
right?
Cloud and Aeris and stuff like that. Yeah.
And they try a little bit of that with a couple of the characters here, but it never really comes together. Now, that said, there's a lot of people around this school that you can talk to, that you can kind of get to know, but none of those personalities really shine through as just super memorable characters. And so the school itself just ends up feeling a little bit empty, even though it's filled with all these characters.
Now, do you have to stay here 7 days and do 7 days of stuff before you can progress? Okay.
It's the best idea to take advantage of that time when you can, because it's going to get you more XP. You're going to go out into the field several times and do some tasks and get better items. But you don't have to do that. You can go to a guy and say, like, I'm ready to go on my next mission, and it will jump you ahead, which is great, especially if you're eager to just kind of have a kind of critical path playthrough to some degree.
I like that guy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, allow? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Those are like these special challenges you can get on missions.
Oh.
So each one of these different rooms that you can teleport to, like, there's not a lot going on here. There's just some characters that you can talk to. Sometimes they have tasks for you. Sometimes they have events that are going to, like, further the story a little bit.
I mean, do you know where to go to have things progress? It just seems like Justin's aimlessly wandering, looking for something.
No, that is exactly what I did all the time, is that every time you finish a mission, you do exactly what Justin's doing, which is run to all these different rooms, see if you can find a task or an event that you want to do, and then go do it. And that uses up some time, and then you continue the process, which you can see how that could get a little bit boring after 25 hours.
What are you doing?
Well, I'm super confused.
Ski.
I read your review. I get what kind of its shortcomings and its strength. But this seems like a pretty deep RPG to jump into, and you're going to devote a lot of time to.
I will give it credit for having a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of like sub-missions, side content, places to explore. I just wish the actual core experience held up to scrutiny.
Does it ever feel like, the last thing I want to touch on, does it ever feel like it was made for PSP or?
Oh, yeah. Justin, why don't you just hold the right stick right for a moment?
Oh, yeah, this.
The camera is unwieldy. It feels like they did not make any adjustments for it after they poured it from PSP.
It's when you do the initial turn.
Yeah.
That's when it really kind of drives you nuts.
It's a lot of blur.
Yeah, there's a lot of blur. It's really abrupt in its camera motion.
Yeah.
So there's people getting sick right now watching this. And it's, along with the fact that, like, although they did update the visuals and the art itself looks pretty nice, if you look closely, a lot of the textures are just a little bit muddy. You saw that especially when we were out in the overworld map.
I thought this room looks really cool.
I think I would agree, right?
Yeah.
Like this speaks to like great Final Fantasy art, and that's that weird sort of style that they've developed over the years for the way that like Final Fantasy architecture works and looks like. But other places just kind of have these sort of repetitive textures and things like that. That it could look better than it does. There's no doubt.
Well, thanks, Miller. Your review is on the site. You gave it a 6 out of 10, I believe.
I did indeed. Yep.
And thanks, Justin, for playing. You did a hell of a job, sir.
Oh, thank you. It was rough, but we got through it.
Thanks to Ben Hansen in our control room. We'll see you in another episode, everyone.